you got to wonder, like, you got to fly home, right?
Right.
And so I got this chair, and you got to, like, you just check the chair. You just put a little tag on it.
You loved all the attention, Joe.
You're walking through the airport the next day with your Royal Rumble chair.
You're listening to the Pre-Race Happy Hour podcast, where race directors Faye Yates and Joe Fleenor sit down over drinks to discuss this year's race, what to expect, and swap some fun stories along the way. To find your next race, visit magicsportsusa.com.
We're here to talk about the 2024 Publix Riverbluff Triathlon 8th annual.
Yeah. So what year is this for me, Joe? Is this 4 years?
4?
This is my 4th year.
Year 4?
Yeah.
So this race has seen a lot of growth over the years, and this race this year in particular is, we'll talk about it more, but record attendance once again every year. It keeps growing, and this year, like all of our other events, is reaching kind of max participation. So we're excited about that.
Yeah. I mean, we're on a roll, and then we talked about this last week, or whenever we did this before. When was that? I don't know what day it is.
It's a blur.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good year. 2024, I said, someone write it down. 2024 is a good year. People are back. They're excited. Lots of new people. It's so cool. How many new people?
We have a lot. About 15% of our racers have never done a triathlon before. So once again, we're bringing a lot of new people to the sport.
Yeah.
This year will be likely a record number of brand new triathletes that have raced with us in the history probably of Magic Sports and previously Team Magic. So
exciting. I love that.
So we have an elephant in the room.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions. I should know a lot of things that I don't know working with you, but I have some questions. Let's talk about what we're drinking first. Is that okay to talk about that first? Is that a good intro?
Yeah, there's a lot of things to talk about here. As we encourage you, if you're listening to this, we encourage you to actually check it out on YouTube because you can actually see what's going on today. But this is the Race Director Happy Hour, and we do like to partake in adult beverages during these conversations, and we've had a lot of great ones, and today is no exception. Today's a little different. As the Riverbluff Triathlon this year, as in previous years, we've got a little bit of a theme with this race, and just to make it a little something different, a little fun, and this year we're taking it to another level.
Yeah.
And we're going to add to that with our happy hour here. So today we are introducing our beer that we're going to be drinking during this podcast. And I thought it would be appropriate, as we'll talk more about kind of the theme of this race and how we're tying in with wrestling. We're introducing our Steve Austin Broken Skull. You're drinking the IPA and I'm drinking the lager. So you, surprisingly, had no idea who Steve Austin was. And for those of you that are listening, this is Stone Cold Steve Austin, famous WWE wrestler.
I mean, and he's from my era. You would think I would have some clue. I'm completely clueless on that. I'm a little embarrassed.
Let's open our drinks. We'll talk more about it as we drink. I like to open it right by the microphone because I want people to hear.
Yeah, if you're listening, this is for real.
There we go. So this is from El Segundo Brewery in California. Stone Cold Steve Austin Broken Skull has partnered with them and has a delicious IPA. I've had their IPA many times. I think you'll really enjoy it.
I love an IPA, so
I've
I'm
never
excited
had
to
their
try
American lager, so I'm going to try the American lager. Cheers.
Cheers.
Delicious. So for those of you who have ever seen Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, I approve. I mean, really, the beer. I'm fine with him too, I'm sure.
I mentioned to you that Stone Cold is Mount Rushmore of wrestlers.
Yeah.
And it's a big debate on who's on that Mount Rushmore, but I think it's pretty safe to say Stone Cold is Mount Rushmore. But he is known for beer. Like in his wrestling days, he would get in the ring, he would have people kind of toss him some beers, and he would just smash them together and pour them down his face. And when when I was growing up watching wrestling, which we'll talk about, I'll still watch it. Yeah. But back in the heyday of Stone Cold's era, I was a young teenager entering into high school, and this was formidable years for me.
Yeah.
And seeing this guy out there in the ring smashing beers.
Oh, you were loving it.
I loved it. And so did millions of other people.
Of course they did. It was huge, and it still is, apparently, because you're a big fan. One of the first things I learned about you, Joe, when we started working together is what a huge fan of wrestling you are. So,
and the fact that didn't turn you off on me means a lot to me.
I like you're an interesting person. You bring different things to the table than you're just not average triathlete out there just talking triathlon all the time. Let's talk about something.
That's so boring.
It's so boring. Let's bring something else.
It was funny. The other night, I was at a friend's house, and she goes, "Joe, you're very interesting." And I was like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Well, like you're like the serious like business guy, but you also like wrestling."
It is a contrast for sure. It was unexpected.
All right. Well, we got a lot to talk about with wrestling with this race, which we'll touch on. Actually, let's just touch on it now. I mean,
I have a question.
Let's hear it.
Because we're going to get on to this. People have some questions they want answered about the race and what's going on there. What's a heel? Your hat.
It's a fantastic question.
Yeah.
I'm happy to answer. Back to wrestling. If you watch wrestling, you know that there's good guys and bad guys. Mm-hmm. I'm a huge bad guy fan. Like, I love the bad guys in wrestling. They're my favorites. So in wrestling terminology, the bad guy is called the heel. Yeah. And so I got a hat years ago. Actually, I go to a lot of wrestling events when they come, but WrestleMania was in Dallas a few years ago, and I went with a friend and bought this heel hat. So I wore the heel hat, and I was cheering all the bad guys.
What's the nice guy called? I'm pretty sure I'd be all for the nice guy.
You'd be a baby face.
Wow. This seems appropriate.
So I'm also sporting SummerSlam, which I'm not sure. This podcast is likely coming out the week of Riverbluff. So SummerSlam is taking place this coming Saturday, August 3rd. So SummerSlam, by the time people listen to this, might have already come and gone.
Okay.
But SummerSlam is taking place on Saturday. Riverbluff always coincides with kind of the SummerSlam schedule, so we've kind of adopted this wrestling theme with Riverbluff, and this year in particular, it's kind of right on top of SummerSlam, so it's even more exciting to kind of like tie in the SummerSlam theme to it. So I'm celebrating SummerSlam today.
So I think if people go to our website, they'll see that we're celebrating it through the shirts they'll be getting.
The shirt that I'm wearing today is a variation of that same shirt.
Right.
Just different color. Mm-hmm. And so everybody's going to get a Riverbluff shirt that looks like the SummerSlam vintage look.
Yep.
We've got the wrestling championship belts, which are in front of us here, so those that are watching can see this. These are belts that we introduced when I first took over Riverbluff. We brought these belts to the table, and I invested a lot of money in these belts, and luckily they're still around and they have not been lost. But these are like legit leather custom wrestling belts.
This is for real. I mean, these are heavy. I mean,
So these are going to our overall winners, male, female, sprint, and Olympic distance. And they get to hold on to these belts for an entire year.
Yeah.
But then next year, they got to come back and defend their belts, just like any good
Let's keep
champion
it going.
needs to do.
Let's keep it going.
Yeah.
I have a quick funny story.
Yeah.
So, Taylor and I have worked together for a long time. And
Taylor, our director of operations.
Has anyone... Have we even flashed... We need a photo of Taylor at least flashed up on this, or he's going to be on one of these
Will that help us
days.
get views?
Oh, well, I think so.
Okay.
He was known at the Nashville Women's Tri as the video guy.
He's
been
oftentimes is our person on the videos.
So people have seen him if they don't realize who it is. So Taylor and I working together, I don't know how we came across, maybe on social media, that you were giving away these wrestling belts at your race. And we were so confused. It's like, why in the world would he be giving away wrestling belts? So
the question is not why in the world would I? The question is why in the world would I not?
Well, now we understand the passion behind the wrestling belts. It makes a lot more sense. But you can imagine us outside looking in. It's like, what an interesting idea for triathletes. Mm-hmm. Why would they want a wrestling belt? But yeah, I get it now.
So I think it was the final year before COVID knocked us out for a year. But in 2019, our overall winners, I asked them, because I was over the top back then as well, and I asked them if you could come out to like an entrance music, which we've talked about too, just for fun. Like if you had a wrestling entrance music that you came out to, what would it be? And they told me, and I was like, well, I'm going to introduce you before the race.
Yeah.
As the champion, the defending champion, and I'm going to give you an entrance music. So like Kirsten Sass had Beyonce's "Girls Run This" or whatever that song's called. Like I forget what it's called, but "Run the World" maybe is what it's called.
That might be it.
And then Derek Stone at the time was our champion, and he came out to he wanted Miley Cyrus. He chose "Party in the USA."
Nice.
So anyways, they all came out
That's fun.
with their belts before the race started with some entrance music, and it was pretty cool.
Can we bring that back?
Yeah, we don't have a defending champion as there's been a gap here.
Okay.
Maybe next year.
Let's announce we're going to do that, and maybe that'll get them to come back.
Well, they have to come, but we're giving them a free registration. next year. So the winners actually get to come back for free. So that's another incentive for our fast racers out there. If you think you can win, come on out, because next year you get it for free. And the belt, the glory of owning the belt, which in my opinion is even more important.
Of course, in your opinion.
The free entry.
Of course it is.
All right, so we talked about the shirt.
Yep.
Shirt's got the exact same look as what I'm wearing here. It's a red shirt with kind of a gold River Bluff. We also have, there's other kind of logos for different years of SummerSlam and what it's looked like. This is more of your vintage SummerSlam look. The more modern SummerSlam look we've incorporated into our race medal, which you can see here on our video, hopefully. We got a really cool medal, and you can see it on our website too, a mock-up of it as well. Yeah. So we've got a River Bluff medal, and then just to like make it as totally ridiculous as possible, we've even added SummerSlam or the wrestling concept to our awards this year.
We have, yeah.
Do you want to? I know you're a big John Cena fan.
Well, I told you. I think anyway, John Cena. Yes, I know who John Cena is. I did not know who Stone Cold Steve Austin was, but I do know John Cena.
John Cena's a little bit more your era.
Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, so we're doing a towel, a sport towel.
And
but it comes from, you tell the story, but yeah, it's a sport towel, but it has a background of, guess what, about wrestling.
So John Cena is known for coming out, and maybe we can like show a video of this. He comes out and he always has like a little sports towel with him when his music kicks in, and everybody knows the music, even if you're not a music or a wrestling fan. And he comes out and he kind of displays his little sport towel that always has a saying, "Never give up," is kind of his thing.
Yeah.
So we've kind of taken that and made it with a little cool little River Bluff Tri look to it.
I gotta do something. I brought me a special towel. You'll see why in a second. I gotta say what's up.
We got some fun awards for that.
Yeah.
All right. So we kind of talked about. I think we can move on from wrestling now, don't you think?
Yeah, I think
we could talk all day. I could talk all day.
I know you could talk all day about wrestling.
Which we might, incorporate a few more threads into this. But we've got the beer, we got the medal, we got the championship belts, we got the T-shirts, we got the award. There's lots of things happening this year.
I think I mentioned I do like this beer.
I'm glad.
Yeah, so thank
you. The other night, if you remember, usually on Friday nights, we text each other, right? And it's usually like
we do
7 or 8 o'clock at night.
Yep.
And we always text each other. I don't know if this is a good thing or bad thing. What are we drinking?
Exactly. Well, we're just being.
I mean, it's a long week, and so we
full
wind
disclosure
down.
On Friday evening. It's okay. We're having a little drink. Yeah.
Oftentimes, you're sending me pictures of like tequila sodas. Seems to be a popular choice. Which
we both like that. We have things we have in common.
But a couple of weeks ago, I actually sent you a picture of that IPA beer, and you probably had no idea when I sent it to you what it was.
But I remember now. I remember you sending it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about this race in particular and some of the fun things we have in store beyond just the wrestling tie-in. We talked about our first timers.
Yep.
We have 15% first timers coming, but we also have a lot of people coming that have never participated in this particular race.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So do you remember those numbers?
I think it was 33%.
Yeah, it's like 1 out of every 3.
1 out of every 3 people have never done River Bluff. They're going to love it. Let's talk about some of the things we love about the River Bluff site. That people that have been there already know this, but people that are new, 33% of the people don't know, and hopefully they're listening. It has a great vibe. And part of that vibe is that these bluffs. So it's called River Bluff for a reason. The bluffs, adjacent to the river there are just gorgeous. It's a perfect backdrop for a race. There's a lot of green space, the post-race party and awards we're going to talk about. I mean, it's a perfect spot for just chilling. It has a really chill vibe. So I think the clubs love it.
Yeah.
Everybody that comes to the race.
Strong local presence, which
yep.
We always have a great local presence, but we're also starting to attract those from out of town, which is great for races like this that always generally have a great local crowd, but word is spreading.
Yeah.
This is something, we know Music City and Eddie Farrell Music City Tribe.
Yeah.
We've been there. We've seen that. It's an awesome race. What else is there in Nashville?
Yeah.
And they're starting to learn that River Bluff is another amazing race
in
Middle Tennessee.
And it's an easy kick out there. I mean, it's 20 minutes from the heart of Nashville. I live in the city, and it's an easy drive out. Mm-hmm. So for locals and for people that are wanting to enjoy Nashville and also do the race, that makes a whole lot of sense. You can stay in Nashville.
Yeah.
And race out there, and it's not a big deal. So they can still get that urban visit, that the tourism piece, and still have a great
We finally have
race.
some hotels out there as well. We used to not have
There's a
really
hotel.
any hotels.
Yeah,
so now we've got some
we have
host
a
hotels.
Hampton. Yeah, we do.
We do have a Hampton. So this is also the first time this race has ever been awarded the designation of a state championship race.
Right, which is cool. So let's talk about what that is. So state championship races, what they basically do. I mean, they say something about the race itself that there's a prestige about. We've got a race that's solid enough to earn a state championship. But what that does is, all USA Triathlon sanctioned events qualify the top 2 in each age division or the top 15% in each age division for the national championships, which is a coveted thing for a lot of racers. There's a lot of our racers that are new. They don't even know what that means, and that's fine. They're doing this recreationally, but there are quite a few people that follow USA Triathlon. And this is a big deal, to get to USA, to get to the national championships. At state championship races, Joe, 35% of the people in the age group goes 35% deep, get a chance to go to nationals.
That's significant.
It's
because it's normally what?
15.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very significant. So it's a good reason, and I think that also can help our traveling. And these state championships, it's a state championship for Tennessee, but someone from Kentucky can win this Tennessee state championship.
100%.
So that adds to some fun. It's like, for the Tennessee people, it's like, hey, this is Tennessee state championship. Let's have a little rivalry. So I like that they do that you don't have to be a resident to win the state championship.
I love that Magic Sports has the opportunity to host in every state we're in the state championship.
Yeah.
We don't take it lightly. We understand that, it's a privilege to be able to host this, and we're appreciative of that.
Yeah.
Can I push pause for a second?
Yeah.
Not on our podcast, but just on
on all this triathlon talk.
On all this boring triathlon.
I can't wait.
Well, I forgot. I'm sitting in this chair, and I didn't mention it. This isn't our normal kind of office chair.
I sit in that chair a lot.
You do, and I want to acknowledge it because I'm very proud of it.
Yeah.
So you really need to be watching this podcast. So I encourage everybody to check out YouTube. And I'm going to stand up. Hopefully our microphone will work a little bit here.
What's happened here, people, is we're moving back to wrestling. I just want to remind people that Joe is very passionate about wrestling.
This would be a thread. So I'm sitting in, for those of you that are able to watch, I'm sitting in a Royal Rumble chair from 2019.
It's...
So just a quick story on that.
It's a comfy chair.
Why do I have this chair? The answer is pretty ridiculous. So do you remember in 2019, we went to the USA Triathlon. Back then, I don't think it was called, maybe it was called Endurance Exchange back then. I forget what the name was. But we went to that conference in Tempe, Arizona.
Yep, I was there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And during that same weekend was the Royal Rumble in Phoenix.
Oh.
And I was like, this is a perfect opportunity.
Yeah.
I'm going to the Royal Rumble. And so I went to the Royal Rumble and bought really great seats, on the floor near the ring. And when you sit on the floor near the ring, you sit on this chair. Nice. You get to take the chair home with you.
So that's the chair you sat in.
You just fold it up and just carry it out of the arena.
I'm not sure I've ever asked you how you got that. I just assumed you bought it as a souvenir.
No, I would never.
You would. Yes, you would.
I would not buy this. But
okay,
I will.
He would. He definitely would.
But you got to wonder, you got to fly home, right?
Right.
And so I got this chair, and you got to, you just check the chair. You just put a little tag on it.
You loved all the attention, Joe.
You're walking through the airport the next day with your Royal Rumble chair. The great thing was there was lots of people walking through the airport with their Royal Rumble chairs.
Oh, yeah, that is fun.
You all just check them.
Yeah.
Also, last thing, this is a picture in the background. I got to give a shout out to my daughter.
Oh.
She and I went to SummerSlam in Nashville when they were here in 2022. I think they were here.
So cute.
She
always has a great time with you. You're a great dad, Joe. You do fun stuff with your kids. I mean,
she made it through an entire show.
Who takes her? How old was she then?
That was 2 years ago. So she would have been 9.
Yeah. So who takes their 9-year-old daughter to SummerSlam to the
She loved it.
wrestling? I love it.
Okay.
That's cool.
So back on track.
Okay.
Let's get back into our triathlon talk. So our schedule. This race, we haven't really talked about when this race is. It's August 11th.
It's August 11th. It's coming up.
It's coming up. Talk a little bit about the schedule of
Yep.
events. So like on Saturday, packet
Yep.
pickup, and then
Yeah.
race itself.
Yeah. So, as mentioned, the race site itself, if you live in Nashville or you're traveling in and staying in Nashville and coming out, it's about a 20 to 25-minute drive out to the park, Riverbluff Park.
Yep.
And packet pickup is from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. We also do a bike check-in. We have overnight security, so you can bring your bike out, get it checked in, check things out, ask questions, attend a pre-race meeting at 3 o'clock.
Yep.
We'll close down shop at 4. And race, everybody goes to do their thing. Race morning. The races start at 7:30 and 8. So we start with the Olympic at 7:30, and then the sprint follows approximately 8 o'clock.
Yep.
Right after the Olympic swimmers get in and out, or at least in. And arrival time for people will be 5:30,
Yep.
right? So
I believe that's right. 5:30, 5:45. I can't remember.
I think
this
actually we open our arrival time is 5:30. Transition is open from 6 to 7.
That's right.
Transition opens 6 to 7, and race starts 7:30.
Okay.
For the
So-
record, we have a lot of races with different start times. I just want to
I
say.
know.
So
It's always
pardon
confusing. We
the,
should write this down before we get on here because they're all different.
but that's accurate.
Okay.
Okay, 6 to 7.
So on that Saturday, you mentioned we end at 4.
Yeah.
A couple things that I just thought about. Riverbluff Park that same day, while we're
Mm-hmm.
there, has a lot of other activities taking place that might be fun for those coming to get their packet, might want to partake in.
Yeah.
One being there's a barbecue cook-off.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they've got an event there where they're doing a bunch of barbecue vendors are going to be there
Right.
making amazing barbecue and I guess selling that.
Yeah.
So you have an opportunity to eat some amazing barbecue at the park. And then later that evening, if you want to hang out even longer, they have like a free concert.
They have a concert
there.
right there where we
Tom-
normally do packet pickup.
A Tom Petty tribute band.
They say, and our guy, AC, told us, the head of Parks and Rec, said they're great.
Yeah. I forget the time of
lot
that,
of
but
fun.
I'm going to guess.
I think it's 6
7-ish.
o'clock.
6-ish? Okay.
I think it's 6.
Okay. Fantastic.
So we were trying to, because their
Get
setup
out of their
starts,
way.
we're trying to get out of their way. So 2 to 4, get out of their way. But people could hang out. They could enjoy the barbecue.
That'd be fun.
If they're not into barbecue, there's also, per my Aunt Sally, so Taylor and I drive together to and from races. And we talk to my Aunt Sally a lot of times when we're on the road. And my Aunt Sally told me, she lives down in White Bluff, Tennessee, that they recently came up to, and they often come to a place to eat catfish.
It's across the river. I'm
It's
assuming.
across the
Is it?
river.
Yeah. I eat there
They love it.
every race for this one.
They love it. They go there for birthdays and such. So she highly recommends it, and you obviously have been there. So people should check that out too. And she said, "Oh, it's just such a pretty spot on the
It
river.
is pretty.
Totally pretty."
So you see it directly across from our race site.
And it's
I
not
forget
just
the name.
catfish.
Riverview something? I forget
Yeah.
the name of it.
I don't remember the name.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it's great. And
Yeah.
it's not terribly, I mean, you can pretty much get a table.
Yeah,
most
shouldn't be
of the
bad.
time, so.
Yeah, and they have other things other than catfish, because my Aunt Sally knows that I don't eat catfish. I was the only
There is a lot
child
of
in my
fried
entire my family. Everybody ate catfish except for Faye. I'm the only one.
Have you ever seen the video? There's a girl, I don't know where she lives, but she's Southern. She's got a real Southern accent. And I don't know if this is TikTok or Instagram, but there's some girl that's like a social media star now. And she literally just pulls catfish from the bottom of the river. And that's like her thing.
Like, how does she? She like goes down with a mask and
She's
pulls
just,
it out
like,
of the
in the
mud
water.
on the river.
She's just in the water. And then she'll like be reaching down in the mud, I guess. And then all of a sudden she just pulls out. I don't know why this is now in my algorithm, but I see it all the time.
I don't want to know
My
why.
algorithm.
Why that's in your
Questionable.
algorithm. Seems a lot easier than like tossing a line down there and hoping they'll take it.
I guess. I don't know. All right. So
They've got whiskers though, like they can
they're huge,
like hurt you.
I guess. I mean, she like is all up in there.
I grew up with a lot of catfish around me, Joe. I know.
All right. So race morning. One thing I want to point out about race morning, which we're excited about, is we got a special national anthem guest.
Ooh, yes, we do.
We do. So years ago, I think it was the very first year I put this race on, we had a guy that did the national anthem with a tuba. He was like part of the band we had, and it was like this bluegrass band. And he did
Cool.
the national anthem with a tuba. And I've always gotten those racers that participated that year always asking, why can't we get the tuba guy back? Unfortunately, the tuba guy passed away a couple years ago.
Oh, well,
so he's no longer
That's a
able.
valid reason.
But we have an amazing staff member that is heavily involved in music, and he's a sax player.
Yeah.
And so we were talking to him the other day. I was like, could you do the national anthem on your sax? And he was like, yeah, let's do it. So John Earl, our resident kind of like, he usually cleans up. He does a lot of things.
He's our Swiss Army knife.
He's our Swiss Army knife. We tease him because he usually goes out there and picks up roadkill and stuff.
He does whatever we ask him to do.
He moves porta potties better than anybody.
And he does our race overviews, Joe.
Everything.
He's a Swiss Army knife for sure. And here he's going to play.
So, he's going to be out there performing the national anthem with his saxophone, which we're super excited about.
Yeah.
So come on, be a part of that. Other kind of race things that I want to touch on here is the club element of this.
Yep.
We talked about how much clubs enjoy Riverbluff. Mm-hmm. This race has always had a very strong club championship, similar to like Tri-Louisville.
Yeah.
Where our local clubs in particular come out and they really love competing with one another, and we get a lot of people from our clubs.
Yeah.
We have a trophy that gets passed down that gets engraved. So we're excited about the club championship model, and being a state championship race, they now can designate themselves as state championship club as well.
That's right, because there's three things with the state championship. We didn't even talk about that. There's the age group state championship, there's the club state championship, and the high school. So if we have high schoolers there, there's also awards for high school athletes at this race from USA Triathlon.
So working triathlete is the defending champion.
Yeah.
I think they've won it a couple years in a row, so they're trying to stay on that trophy. But there's a lot of other clubs that have a lot of people coming this year.
And
so they
want to take that trophy. Yeah.
Totally. What's great about the club championship is because of that, a lot of these club members stay for the duration of this event. So until the last person finishes, and we've got a great party.
Yeah.
And so let's touch on that post-race
party. Let's talk about the party. We've got some music.
We've got some great music.
Some familiar music to us, which I love.
Adam McDonough.
He's so good.
Adam McDonough has been with us twice
good.
Already this year.
Yeah.
And a couple times in previous years as well. He's a fantastic local singer-songwriter.
Yes.
And he loves us, and we love him. And so we've developed a really good partnership with him.
He's part of our team, part of our local team.
We do feel like he's a part of our team. So he's going to be performing post-race for us.
Right. Got some good food. Mm-hmm. And beer from the same group. And that is our friends
at the Ridge.
We love the Ridge.
We talked about barbecue.
The Ridge is over on Charlotte, and it's not just a catering place. They have a physical restaurant. I mean, they have a spot over off Charlotte.
It's delicious.
Yep, it's delicious, and they're great people. They're fun. Great.
So they've got a cool little beer truck that's going to be coming out, and we're going to be dispensing everybody that races, assuming you're 21 or over.
Yep.
We'll get 2 free beers from them. So thanks to have them out there. We're going to have a number of vendors that are out there. We talked about Publix already. Obviously, the title sponsor, we're very appreciative of them.
Yep.
But we have a number of other vendors that are going to be out there having a great time. But it's the shade area. Like, you're fully covered with trees and shade, and that helps the vibe. Like, you can kind of hang out and not be too uncomfortable.
It does.
And you're right by the river, so it's a good party.
Yeah.
The park and rec director, who really does an amazing job helping with this race over the years.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about this, but AC, Anthony Clark is his name. We call him AC. He actually heads up a nonprofit.
He does.
Called the Quentin Clark Foundation, which is our charity partner for this race. Which let's touch on real quick. AC's son, Quentin Clark, passed away a few years ago from kind of drug addiction.
Yep.
Terribly sad story, but a story that's very familiar with a lot of people.
He was a high school football player, like very active.
Very active.
Strapping guy.
And he dealt with drug addiction and passed away. And so his dad, AC, started this foundation, has done some amazing stuff locally and across Cheatham County, kind of developing this. And so we love what he's doing with that. AC's a tremendous guy.
100%.
So we're so excited to be partnering with them. And we've got a number of donations through our registration site for our racers that are supporting it. But then we hope that people just check it out on their own and also support it on their directly through the foundation.
You know, if you're hearing this and when you signed up and you didn't do that donation, we encourage you to do it. I mean, it's a real thing. I mean, this kid, I think, had, you can go read about it. You can link to it from our website and get the full story. But this is a legitimate, really positive charity that's doing great things for people that need help and trying to catch things before they get to the point where his son did.
Yeah. So there's a lot. I mean, we could go on for another 30 minutes about wrestling.
We could.
I mean Riverbluff. But I think, I think we've touched on a lot of the high points. The course itself is the same as in years past.
Yeah.
We've got a nice swim course now. We've avoided a lot of the current issues.
If we have current, we're prepared for it. And if we don't have current, it's still a great swim course.
Bike course is a nice, fun, flat, out and back type of a course. We no longer have to go over a berm like we did a couple years ago. That's a whole nother story we can get into. This is a great...
That was a good story.
Beautiful roads. And the run, I encourage everybody, actually, the last thing we'll talk about here on the course is if you've never done an Olympic race at Riverbluff, I encourage people to think about doing the Olympic in years down the road, because the Olympic run course hits a trail that most people will never see unless you do the Olympic run course. And about half your run is on this trail that is absolutely stunning.
It's gorgeous.
Fully shade, right along the river. It's fantastic. So I encourage people to do the Olympic at this race as much as possible.
Yeah, and because it's a late in the year race, if you haven't targeted for this year, think about it for next year, because it's worth putting that out there. It's that trail is worth it. And the bike course is flat, so you're saving yourself on the bike course. This is the perfect time to go for the Olympic.
All right, to close out, SummerSlam is on Saturday. The main event, most likely, is a championship, the World Championship, between the champion, Cody Rhodes, whose dad, you might recognize the name, Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream. Anyways.
Yeah.
Cody Rhodes is the champion. He's facing Solo Sikoa. Who do you have your money on? Solo Sikoa is the cousin of Roman Reigns, who was the champion.
Which one's the baby face?
Cody is. He's the baby face.
100% Cody. I'm all in.
I'm all in on Solo. All right, this has been a great happy hour race director overview for Publix Riverbluff Triathlon.
Yep.
Cheers. Enjoy your Stone Cold Steve Austin's Broken Skull IPA.
And you liked yours?
I'll enjoy my American Lager.
Okay, yeah.
We'll see everybody on August 11th.
11th.
All right.
See ya.